Hey, good to see you here. I'm Julian Togelius.
And I'm Christoph Selge, and today we're here to talk about the AI Settlement Generation Challenge in Minecraft.
Cool. So, what's that? AI settlement generation in Minecraft?
Yes, it's a competition where you have to make an AI that builds a city.
You have to
Yes,
make an AI that builds a city. Okay, how do you make an AI that builds a city?
we have a framework for that in Python, but we get to that at the end of the video. Before that, I'm going to talk a bit about a few other details, and Julian needs to leave because he has a lot of work to do.
Yeah, but I really want to hear more about this.
Well, you can watch the video. I'll see you
Thanks.
later. Julian unfortunately had to leave, so I replaced him with this trusted whiteboard. Today, both of us are going to talk about the GDMC AI Settlement Generation Challenge, which is a competition about producing procedural content generator that makes cities in Minecraft. It ran for the first time last year and produced some really interesting results, like this or this. But before I'm going to talk about the challenge per se, in which we ask people to make interesting Minecraft settlements, I would like to give you a little bit of context what I exactly mean by that. And to that end, I'm going to talk about two things. A, why are cities really amazing human artifacts? And why are they both very hard and challenging to create? When we're talking about cities or human settlements in more general terms, the chances are pretty high that you're living in one. So you might ask yourself, what's the big deal about them? But if you think about them in terms of human-made artifacts, and they're arguably the most complex and biggest and most intricate things humanity has ever made. And if you take a closer look, you might discover that cities have a variety of really interesting properties. For one, they adapt to their environment. So cities are shaped by their circumstances, and they do shape the environment around them in turn. So if you look around the world, you see a lot of different cities. And while some are more similar than others, every one of them is unique, because every one is the result of its own unique history, the result of its own unique place. So if you have a city in a colder climate, the houses might have bigger walls. If you're in a different climate, your city might look completely different. Or imagine what kind of role technology and the timeline your city was founded in place. A city where cars are the main mode of transportation looks different than a city where people used to walk everywhere. And there's a huge range of other issues that influence how a city looks. Like a lot of early cities were founded at the mouths of rivers, and the very locality of them shaped the way they look, what districts were more sought after and what places weren't as nice in cities. So cities aren't just nice to look at, they also have a very specific function, or we could say they provide affordances to their inhabitants. And that starts with the very basic ones, from keeping out the cold and protecting you from danger. But there's a lot of more subtle functionalities and affordances that are built into cities that we often don't notice until they are gone. I, for example, once moved to Albuquerque in New Mexico, and after I was dropped off at my apartment, I wanted to go to the next supermarket and realized that there's no realistic way to walk there. All I could do was walk on a 6-lane road without any sidewalk and hope that I would get run over by a car. So all these ideas about mobility and accessibility and ease of navigation are often built in or designed into cities in ways that we don't even recognize till they're gone. And this also connects back to our previous point, adaptability. So a lot of what functionality I want and what functionality I need depends on the externalities that my city is subject to. So if I'm living in a very cold place, I want a settlement that keeps me warm. And if we have very dangerous neighbors, I might want a city with high walls. Cities also tell stories. If we look at the remnants of ancient civilizations, the settlements and cities they left behind can tell us a lot about who these people were and how they lived. But living cities tell stories as well. The way a city grows over time shapes it. And if you ever go to the old town of your city, you might see that once the place you live in has looked different in the past, and that process is visible. And even history leaves its marks on cities. So good and also bad events leave scars on cities and show what happened in the history of the city. So for the next segment, I'm joined by Ahmed Khalifa. He's a PCG expert, and I'm going to talk with him about why it is so hard to make cities. But first, what is actual procedural content generation?
So the name is very descriptive. So it's procedure content generation. So you need a procedure or a function or an algorithm to generate a content that could be used in a game or in anything else. It's a content to be used later for something else.
Okay. And why do you think it's hard to make cities in PCG?
So if you're gonna just make just like a new city, like most of the modern like cities in Cairo, which they don't care much about what they're doing, so it's not that hard. You can just like grid and put some blocks and then see what's the functionality. Like you need a mosque or you need like a hospital, and then put them in a center areas or something like that, and then you have a city. But this city will be kind of like meaningless and it feels weird, and that's why most of the people live in these cities not enjoy it that much, and they always go to the center of Cairo because it's not very enjoyable to live there, and I feel like suburb areas.
So PCG actually has that too, right? This divide and conquer approach where you're basically just like separating the problems into like kind of sub-problems, and they're all kind of solved independently from each other?
Yes. Is this a question or?
Okay, so the thing I was trying to get at is that I think there are two big challenges here that making a city kind of addresses. So one of them is adaptive PCG. So you have to make something not on an empty field, but there's already content there, and you have to kind of adapt to it.
Okay.
And the other is this whole question about holistic PCG. So it's not just that you can make like one thing and another and then kind of put them together, but all of it is interconnected, like the stories and the stuff. And it's very hard to kind of get all of these things fitting with each other.
Yeah, like I agree with you. Like to put everything together, it's not an easy problem, especially if you want something to have a story behind it. Even like the very cheap PCG, if it has a story behind it, just like want something that's very cheap, that just doesn't cost much. You want the fastest thing, that's most functional, and come to you to life. And it was an example for that even in real life in the 1960s, as we talked before. In Europe, most of the buildings were like just block buildings that just look like just divided and just places for people to live. They didn't care
because
about
they needed
anything.
so many.
Exactly.
places.
They didn't care about anything. They didn't care about story. And even if you look at it right now, the story is they need just a place to live. The same with the PCG. If you just did something, just get something with fast that divide, find the best place or flat the whole place and build something on top of it. For example, in Minecraft. And just look like a block. The story behind it is the generator is lazy and he wants for this cheapest amount of time to get like the most outcome out of it.
Okay, but I mean, just to wrap this
It's
up.
not just an interesting story, but it's a story.
Okay, just to wrap that up, do you think generating cities is an interesting problem?
I think it's an interesting problem, especially if you want to generate like an old city, like not like one or something very cheap or something just functional. If you want to have something that have meaning when you walk in it, you can like feel the same as you walk in New York City or Cairo or any of the old big cities. that's not an easy task because as you see in any city, it's not like built from scratch. Like not someone set and then plan how it's gonna happen, but it happened layers over layers over layers, and it change over time. Like it's not the same as it like started, and you can see the effect. Like for example, in Cairo, you can see that there is a huge part which is the Pharaonic Empire, and then suddenly there is around it, and then new cities start to appear where there is churches around it, and then after that the mosques appeared around them. So you can see it's like central, it's increasing in like as its radius, and the places of the new stuff it's always a little bit far away from the other thing because they want something new appeared and they now start building or adapting for the new things they have.
So the kind of organic growth process
Yeah.
that makes the city is visible in the final artifact.
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, so to make something that dynamic and look as interesting to walk in like these cities, you need to try to make your PCG understand all and adapt to every single thing that's in the environment, and also simulates kind of like a history or what people have been doing and reflect it in your city.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Now that you're excited about building something yourself, let's talk about Minecraft for a bit. It's an open world game where everything is made out of blocks. You initially get dropped off into the world, basically naked, and you go and punch down a tree to get some wood, which you turn to a workbench to make some tools, which you then use to harvest more wood and other blocks to build stuff. There is actually a goal to the whole game. You can travel to another dimension, defeat a dragon, but most people don't really care and just build their own little worlds. And Minecraft is a good tool to do that. And so we thought it might be a nice place to implement a city building challenge. One reason for this is that it already comes with a proof of concept for what a settlement generator looks like. The game is shipped with its own settlement generation that builds little villages, but they suffer from a lot of the issues we talked about before. So they all look a lot alike, they aren't really adapted to their environment. If you've seen one, you've seen them all, and they quickly kind of get boring and you don't really feel that they're telling a good story. But the other good reason why Minecraft is a cool way to look at settlement generation is that we have a lot of human examples. So people do like building settlements, and I could spend the rest of the video just showing you amazing images of player-built cities. So let's look at one just to see how well they kind of capture the processes and interesting bits that we talked about before. So this is a time-lapse of a group of people building a city together in Minecraft, humans. And you immediately see how this city is adapted to the underlying terrain, how there's a lot of like functional elements going on, be that bridges or walkways, or later you'll see ships. And there's this rich story that just, emerges as you watch them build the city, as you look at the fortification and walls and ships and just the different districts. So this, I think, is pretty impressive, and it showcases what humans are capable of doing. And the question is, can we get city generation to a level where it is as good as what these people put together? So have another look around. This is what we're trying to beat. So let's have a chat about the actual competition, and for that I'm being joined by Mike Green, one of the other co-organizers of the GDMC Minecraft Settlement Competition.
Hi everyone.
So Mike, what exactly is the task in this competition?
So the goal is to create an algorithm. After we give you a map in Minecraft, you will then test this algorithm out on this map, and ideally this algorithm will generate a settlement within Minecraft.
Okay, so this has to work on like any kind of map, right?
Literally any kind of map. You don't know what kind of map you're going to be given. It could be very mountainous, it could be very flat, there could be lots of water or trees, but it should work on any Minecraft map that we give to it.
Okay, and how exactly does this work technically?
So there are two main ways that you can choose to compete.
Okay.
The first of which uses, you can find this on our GitHub page,
Okay.
which is below, and on our website. And ideally what you do is you create, we use a framework called MC Edit, which allows you to manipulate the Minecraft environment outside of Minecraft. So you're not actually in the game. But you can write an algorithm called a filter, which allows you to manipulate the Minecraft world. Inside of each filter, there is a function called the perform function, and your job in this case would be to create that perform function and build your settlement generator inside of that function.
So all you have to do is write this one Python function, and all the infrastructure around it is being taken care of by the framework.
Exactly, yes.
And the other option, which is kind of new, right?
Yes, it's brand new for this framework. Essentially, you have to build a Forge-based mod, which is Java-based. So we do allow both Python and Java submissions for the competition.
And that basically all you have to do there is override a console command. So this actually runs in Minecraft.
Yes.
We enter a console command for map we've loaded, and then your mod has to build the settlement while Minecraft is running.
Exactly right. So again, we do offer both a Python and a Java-based version. So depending on which one you're more comfortable with, we accept either one.
Sounds exciting. So I think you can check out the technical details on our website or on our GitHub page. But I think we should now look at some of the exciting results we've got from previous competitions.
Absolutely.
For that, I'm being joined by...
I'm Rodrigo Canaan.
And you're one of the other co-organizers of the GDMC competition?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so tell us, how many people submitted the first year?
This year we had 4 participants.
Okay, and how exactly did the evaluation work?
So we had a panel of judges, human judges, experts, and they judged each entry across 3 maps on 4 criteria.
So we had adaptability, functionality, and narrative that we talked about before, but there's a 4th one.
It's aesthetics, and it's not only about the settlement looking pretty, but also for getting things right, like proportion, looking good from an embodied perspective.
Okay, so I'll bring up the results, and so here we have a table of the 4 different entries, and I think they were judged from 0 to 10, right?
Yes.
So what does that scale mean?
So 0 is obviously very bad. 5 would be at a level that you would expect from a human alone, having somewhat good skills at Minecraft.
Okay.
And from 5 to 10, it escalates to like humans more and more skilled, or perhaps a group of humans with a lot of time on their hands. And 10 would be
like in the video we saw earlier.
Yes.
That might be like a 7 or something, or an 8.
Sounds correct.
Okay.
And 10 would be something out of this world that you would need like an army and whole nation playing Minecraft for years.
Okay, so we see that the winner has like kind of a clear lead, but there's still room to grow.
Yes, there's a lot of room to grow.
Okay, and basically we're using the same kind of criteria next year again, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's actually start up Minecraft and have a look at the actual settlements that were being built. So this is a map made by the winner.
Yes. This is one of the entries for the competition, and the key feature is that we have 2 biomes separated by a river, as you can see.
Oh yeah, here in the middle.
Yes.
And so there's like basically 2 different biomes on each side of the river, and people could have like adapted the houses to each side. The entry doesn't do this, but one neat feature it does have is like the wood used in the houses, like if I were going a little bit closer, is birch, which is also, if you see, the dominant kind of tree that's like visible in this specific biome. So this is basically the same settlement generator on another map.
Yeah. And this new map has higher cliffs, and this lets this settlement generator shine on one of its best features, which was building placement.
So yeah, it's kind of manages to put the buildings kind of in reasonable locations. Also notice the other kind of wood it has here. Oh, and one other feature we also see here is that this generator also places down fields, kind of to support the people living in the villages to actually have food. And it also, I think, manages to connect the houses with roads that kind of make sense. So they actually go from like door to door and around obstacles.
Yes. This improves their functionality score and also narrative. Here we can see the same village at night, and it also shows how they handled illumination, putting all these torches at the houses, which is also a nice touch.
I think it's also the only entry that actually has like decent illumination at night. I think all the others are overrun by monsters at night.
Yes.
So here's a different settlement generator, one that initially completely flattens the map, but it has this nice feature that it builds a lot of like differently sized houses.
Yes, you can see how some houses are smaller, some houses are taller, and there's even a big, large house that looks kind of like a convention center or a temple.
Yeah, yeah. And I think there was also like there were like attempts here to make fields, but the underlying structure wasn't changed. So the moment we loaded the map, all the wheat kind of popped off.
So here we have yet another entry. This one also has some differentiated buildings and the feel of a tightly packed urban center.
Yeah, but one issue that this generator had is that it's very good at placing buildings on mountains, but some of them are really inaccessible, and it also just basically kind of ignores water and just places buildings over there. So this whole area here is actually like the sea, but it's still kind of filled with a city. But it does generate like a nice kind of urban flair. So if you look at this kind of angle here, it really looks like some kind of city that's built into it. So this is the final generator, and it's basically builds like really large houses with a sub-filter. So the houses show a lot of variability.
Yes, they are also nicely placed with respect to the flatness of the terrain, but it also has some problems when dealing with water.
So this again is the winning entry, and here you see another really nice feature of it. So this whole map was filled with jungle, and they actually managed to remove the trees more or less and place the buildings in there. So it's like there's a certain clearing that was made here for the village. Okay, so that was a short overview of what people submitted for the first year and what their generators built. But if you want to check it out yourself, you can download all the maps online from our website, but you can also actually get the code.
Yes, and the cool thing is that you can use the existing generators as an entry point. So if you see something there that you think you can improve on, for example, none of the settlement generators use bridges. So if you could look at one of them and say, what would the settlement look like with also a bridge generator?
Yeah, or I mean, there's like other issues you can like kind of look at. So I think some people have tried to, for example, build like distinct districts in their city, or add like more like bigger features, like maybe like a central building or a city wall.
Yeah, and on the micro level, you could tackle, for example, interior decoration to furnish those houses.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of options there. So we have a lively discussion going on in our Discord, which you can also join. And we're currently working on and have already published some kind of modules that you can also download and get started with, like a filter that just divides your house into separate rooms. So there's a lot of stuff there for you to get started and try out. And you don't necessarily have to make the perfect city, because in the end, this is about like learning. Both about making better like procedural content generation, but it's also about understanding how cities are shaped. So there's a lot of like interesting science and cool ideas you can try out there. And if you want to do that, just download it, get started, make something with it, and maybe your video will be in here in a year. So good luck.
Good luck.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.